Lydia Bennet left for Brighton on a cloud of excitement, ribbons flying, trunks overflowing with dresses she didn't need, and a grin so wide it nearly split her face. She hugged no one properly, waved dramatically, and shouted out the carriage window. "Don't miss me too much. I shall write every day." Elizabeth watched her go with a sick, heavy dread. The horse hooves faded down the road. The dust settled, and Longbourn felt quieter and somehow more fragile. Mrs. Bennet floated around the house in a state of triumph, bragging to every neighbor about her daughter's brilliant opportunity. Kitty sulked because she hadn't been invited. Mary lectured about morality. Mr. Bennet retreated behind a book. And Elizabeth worried. Every night. Because Darcy's letter still whispered in her mind. "Wickham attempted to elope with my sister. He has no conscience where young women are concerned." Lydia was exactly the kind of girl Wickham could ruin. Bold, naive, trusting, foolish, desperate for attention. And Elizabeth could do nothing but wait. A journey to Derbyshire. Summer arrived, warm, sweet, golden. Elizabeth had planned a journey with her aunt and Uncle Gardiner, a tour of the northern countryside. At first, she tried to refuse. Her thoughts were too clouded, too restless. But Mrs. Gardiner smiled gently. "My dear, you need the air. You've been troubled." And Mr. Gardiner added warmly, "We won't trouble you with business talk, just a quiet holiday." So Elizabeth agreed. And their journey took them farther and farther north, until Mrs. Gardiner, recalling an old memory, pointed out a direction on the map. "There's an estate nearby, very beautiful. I visited years ago, Pemberley." The name struck Elizabeth like a heartbeat. Darcy's home. Her face burned with sudden heat. No, Aunt, we should not." "Nonsense," Mrs. Gardiner said. "They allow visitors when the family is away." Elizabeth hesitated, her pulse skittered. Was Darcy there? Would she see him? The thought made her chest tighten with a blend of dread and something else she didn't want to name. They asked the innkeeper. "Mr. Darcy is away," he confirmed. "The house is open today." Elizabeth swallowed hard. Then she agreed. Pemberley, more than a house. They approached through a long, sweeping driveway lined with ancient trees. Sunlight filtered through the leaves, casting patches of gold across the gravel path. And then, Pemberley rose before them. Magnificent. Stately. Perfectly proportioned. Set against a backdrop of rolling hills and a river that glimmered like silver in the sunlight. Elizabeth stopped walking. A strange ache bloomed behind her ribs. This is his world, she thought. The world he grew up in, the world he belongs to. The gardens stretched endlessly, flower beds sculpted with precision, elegant walls topped with ivy, windows reflecting the sky. Inside, the house was breathtaking. Paintings, marble sculptures, polished floors, carved staircases. Everything glowed with gentleness rather than extravagance, grandeur without ostentation. Elizabeth felt Darcy in every corner. She trailed behind the housekeeper, Mrs. Reynolds, who spoke warmly about the family. "Mr. Darcy is the kindest landlord," she said. "Never harsh, always generous." Elizabeth's head lifted sharply. "What?" "And the best brother I've ever seen," Mrs. Reynolds added. Elizabeth felt her throat tighten. Darcy. Generous. Kind. This was not the man she thought she knew. But it was the man from the letter. The man she couldn't stop thinking about. Then they reached a portrait in the gallery. Darcy. His eyes, calm and steady, seemed to meet hers across the room. Her breath caught. Mrs. Reynolds smiled. He was around this age when that was painted. Elizabeth stared. She had once thought him cold. Now she saw intelligence, dignity, and a quiet vulnerability. Her cheeks warmed. What if I had been wrong about everything? An impossible encounter. They walked outside to admire the gardens from the rear terrace when a movement caught Elizabeth's eye. A figure approaching from the river. Tall, dark-haired, walking lightly across the lawn in riding clothes. No, it couldn't be. Elizabeth froze. Her heart crashed against her ribs as the figure lifted his head. Darcy. He stopped dead in his tracks. For one long, breathless moment, neither moved. Then he stepped forward, astonished and breathless. Miss Bennet. His voice was barely above a whisper. Elizabeth's face burned. Her words tangled. I believed you were not at home, sir. I returned earlier than expected, he said, still staring at her as if she had appeared from a dream. He looked different, less guarded, more open, as if the letter had stripped something away from him too. The silence stretched. Elizabeth's heart fluttered painfully. Darcy cleared his throat. May I introduce myself to your relatives? Elizabeth blinked. He wanted to meet them. The Darcy she once knew would never have offered such courtesy. Yet he approached Mr. and Mrs. Gardiner with warmth, humility, and sincerity, unlike anything Elizabeth had seen from him before. Mr. Gardiner was impressed. Her aunt smiled brightly. Darcy was engaging, gracious, and astonishingly shy. He fell into step beside Elizabeth as they walked. I hope, he said softly, that your family is well. Elizabeth nodded. Yes, very well. And you. His eyes flicked to hers. Her heart fluttered again. I'm quite well, thank you. There was something charged in the air, something unspoken, fragile, and full of possibility. Darcy hesitated, then said with a tentative hopefulness, Would you allow me the honor of introducing you to my sister, Georgiana? She has long wished for new acquaintances. Elizabeth's breath caught. Darcy was inviting her to meet his sister. His beloved sister. This was not courtesy. This was trust. And something more. She nodded, barely able to speak. I would like that very much. Darcy's smile was small, almost shy. But it transformed his entire face. In that moment, Elizabeth realized. He still cared. Maybe more than ever. And her heart, once so sure of its own judgment, began to tremble with something dangerously close to hope.